Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Guess it's 5 o'clock somewhere too. That's an old joke. Anyway, Keith Seddon here. Speaking as Keith Seddon, on behalf of Keith Seddon. Keith Seddon did a video a couple of nights ago on behalf of the universe. And watching the playback, Keith Seddon was a little bit disappointed. So what? I'm often disappointed. I've just got in, about half an hour ago from a pool match, a league pool match, which I actually take quite seriously. And we lost miserably, but it was fun playing. We actually lost 8-2, and I lost both of my games. And largely enjoyed playing them, but I think my mind was perhaps on this presentation tonight. I got back here half an hour before midnight with the intention, I'm going to come back to intention later on in this presentation, with the intention of doing some preparation so that rather than speaking my usual rubbish, I could speak with some sort of clarity about something purposeful. But as usual, as soon as I walked in to my room, I'm immediately distracted. My fault. What did I do? I turned on that TV. And guess what? Who was on the TV the instant the picture came on? A gentleman called Donald Trump. Good evening, Donald, if you're watching this. Thanks for all the bullshit you're putting up. Sorry. I'm going to keep this civil. So yes, I was somewhat distracted by the bullshit that Donald Trump was putting out on TV tonight. It really is a pantomime, and it makes me smile. Looking at it from one perspective, it makes me very angry. Looking at it from another perspective, also makes me very sad. Looking at it from a third perspective. I think Donald Trump said something about his law enforcement officers being the best in the world. Well, I think that's probably very debatable, Donald. Actually, back in 2014, when I was actually in your country, in a city called Detroit, Michigan, I fell foul of your law enforcement officers several times. So much so that I spent, I think, in total 9 weeks in Macomb County Jail, spread over 3 separate occasions, and most things happen in threes, and I'll probably come back to that later too. So, having been party to how your law enforcement works, I find your comments about your law enforcement team being the best in the world somewhat dubious, sir. Excuse me, I've been suffering with a bad fever for the last 3 weeks. I'm just about coming to the end of it, but I've got a bit of a cough, which might have been brought on by that cannabis that I'm smoking as well. That's by and by. So, Mr. Trump, yes, I was incarcerated in Macomb County Jail on 3 separate occasions for misdemeanors. On my second visit to that wonderful establishment, I asked, in fact, no, I was probably more assertive. I think I demanded that the British embassy, in fact the British consulate in Chicago, be informed of my incarceration, as is the law. The response I got was to be taken by 6 turnkeys into an empty cell, beaten, and then tortured. Tortured to the extent that both of my Achilles tendons were ripped apart. Can you imagine the pain that I suffered during that torture by law enforcement officers who are the best in the world, sir? I don't think you probably can. That pain. It's the worst pain I've ever suffered, and I've suffered a lot of pain in my life, physically and mentally too. I screamed the loudest screams I could possibly imagine. Thank you, Mr. Trump, and your wonderful law enforcement officers, but I'm going to stop on that subject. I also got distracted this evening by an email, this time from Russia. No, it wasn't Mr. Putin this time. Good evening, Mr. Putin, if you're watching. It was from a Russian lady, female, aged 24. I'd responded to an email she sent me. Very briefly, I just told her I was a 67-year-old male looking for a partner. And she sent me this email back tonight, which actually touched my heart. She was telling me about the plight of the average or majority of people in Russia, that their plight is not being depicted on the media the way it should be. Not outside Russia, anyway. Putin has spent more of the country's economy on armaments than he has on the population who are living in dire poverty. But I was more distracted by the way this young lady looked. She was actually very, very attractive. And I've posted 5 of her pictures on 3 of my Facebook pages. Sorry, 2 of my Facebook pages and 1 of Connie Lingus's. Sorry, Cunard Lingus. Cunard Lingus is currently working for me. She's writing on my behalf, under my instruction, my last and latest final book. The introduction to that book can be found on Cunard's Facebook page. It can be found on my Facebook page and my other Facebook page, because don't forget I'm allegedly bipolar. So I have 2 Keith Seddon Facebook pages. Where do I go from here? Oh yes, this Russian girl. You see, in her letter, she was explaining that she was impoverished, but looking at her photographs, quite honestly, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, does this 24-year-old model look impoverished? Well, I'm very surprised she's single. Very surprised she's not in a relationship at all. Although in her letter, in her fairness, she did say that she did not necessarily go up with her friends to pubs because all they did was drink vodka and get drunk. Well, that might be true. Probably is true. And I want to talk about truth and belief later on in this presentation. There's a vast difference between truth and belief. So, I did make some notes. I scribbled them down in the few moments that I had. You see, if I just hold that there long enough, you'll have time to read what I scribbled. And those are my aid memoirs, and if you scroll down through it, you'll see where I'm going to be heading with this presentation. If you can read English, that is. I apologise to anybody who can't read English, but my whatever. Never mind. Anyway, there we go. So, if I'm glancing to my right, it's because I'm looking at this piece of paper. It started off with Trump, law enforcement, best in the world. Well, I think I covered that. I just want to say, Mr. Trump, that pain that I suffered, the humiliation I suffered, the lack of respect I was shown by your wonderful law enforcement officers, you know, the best in the world. Bullshit. Okay. Then it's got Russian Girl, and I think I've covered her. Wish I could. Anyway, I'll get back to her later. Right. During the presentation 3 nights ago, I was talking on behalf of the universe and allegedly on behalf of the Anunnaki. Now, I've done a lot of research about Anunnaki, and I believe that they existed up to 7,500 years ago and left this planet by their spacecraft because they were a bit pissed off and blah, 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 blah. Anyway, I have no concrete evidence whatsoever that my mentors, my powers that be, my God, wherever they are Anunnaki. I've been led to believe that. I'm certainly being controlled to some extent because I've given them permission to do so, because I've put my faith in them, and I've told them that if I am to continue my crusade or my mission to achieve world peace, then we are in this together, both of us. So my actions are largely mine, but they could be actions of the universe, because the universe does in fact work in very mysterious ways. It scares the shit out of me sometimes, because the things they have helped me with shown me, yeah. I'm watching TV, screen will go blank, and there's a message on the screen. How the fuck do they do? Sorry, how on earth do they do that? It scares the shit out of me. That's just one of hundreds of examples I could give you that I've witnessed over the last 4 years since I started this mission. Okay, I've lost my Rorke's drift again. I don't even know what I was talking about. Where can I pick this up from? Excuse me, I'm sorry. It undoubtedly is the cannabis, or it could be the fact that I'm very, 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 very tired. I haven't slept very much of late. I try to get a couple of hours a day, but most of the time I'm administering my Facebook accounts and writing and doing other things, effectively working towards the end goal, which is world peace. I don't give up. I just do it relentlessly, day in, day out, through the night. It's almost, in fact, it may well be an obsession. I don't know. Maybe I am obsessed with achieving world peace. And I think I possibly am, because not only do I use Cunard to do my writing for me, I actually employ several people. I have 2 separate astrologers and a clairvoyant, because there are many things that I don't understand, astrology being one of them, tarot cards another, for example. And I do believe there is credibility in astrology, even though it's not a science as such. Well, not in our curriculum anyway. It's definitely a science, because the pyramids were built using astrology. Anyway. Oh, maybe that was astronomy. Perhaps I'm getting confused. Right, so I'm confused. I haven't got a fucking clue where I am. I was talking about, fate. Oh, shit. I do apologise profusely, because I've made a total cock-up of this again, probably because of the cannabis, and probably because I am dead fucking knackered, and I do need some sleep desperately. So I'm just going to whiz down this as quick as I can. Okay, oh yes, Anunnaki. It is my belief that, well, I know that I've been contacted by the universe, whether it's the Anunnaki or not, I don't know. And they want to see change in this world not later than the 31st of December. Otherwise, allegedly, there's going to be wrath from Mother Nature and or the universe. It could be either and or both. The sort of change they're looking for is an attitude change from within and a change towards compassion, a change towards forgiveness, a change towards acceptance. I'm not going to go through those three words in much detail. I'd just like you to think about them. I'll say them again if I can remember them. Compassion, forgiveness, and acceptance. Compassion towards your fellow human being, regardless of, dare I say it, their religion, their colour, their circumstance. Compassion. Forgiveness. Again, unconditional forgiveness, regardless of who they are. Forgive them. Forgive their sins. Isn't that something that's preached a lot within the Bible and other religions? I don't know. Oh, whatever. And acceptance for what people are, you know. I accept everyone for what they are. Actually, no, that's bullshit. There are a lot of bad people in this world, and I can't accept, I can't forgive, or maybe I can. Keith Seddon, the Christian, until 5 years ago, I don't know, I don't want to go into religion really. Putting on my Buddhist cap, yes, I can forgive. But I'm not a Buddhist monk, but I do try to adopt. Hi, John, I can see you, mate. I do try to adopt Buddhist philosophy. And I'm not saying that is the best philosophy in this world. There are several, but let's just accept each other's philosophies for what they are, and let's get on and live together in harmony. Does it really matter what religion you have? Does it matter whether the earth is round or flat, square or triangular? No, does it bugger it? We're all in this together as human beings. What's pissed off the universe is that human beings, we've evolved into something that's actually inhuman, largely. There is allegedly 9.7 billion people on this planet. I'm buggered if I know how they got to that figure, because there's lots of places in this world where there is no census. So I think they're just plucking figures from thin air, really. I'm going to digress, as usual. Truth and belief. What is truth? Is truth a finite term? You see, I've thought about this a lot, and I have found truths which contradict each other. Well, if there's a definite truth, then there can't be two truths which contradict each other. It's not. It is possible, but it's not possible if you sort of follow my drift. And also, I think people get caught up a little bit on what is truth and what is a belief. Again, belief is definitely not a finite term. Definitely not. I believe in... What do I believe in? It's very hard to believe in anything these days, if I'm honest. I certainly don't believe that TV and the bullshit that spouts out. That's a lot of bollocks. And what do I believe? I believe I'm 67 years old, and that might be the truth, I don't know. I believe I've got a beard on my face, some of it. That's just all bullshit. I'm going to get through on what I really wanted to talk about. I've done compassion, forgiveness, acceptance. I've done it very well. I've done the Russian girl, metaphorically speaking. Desire. There's another word. Desire. As a Buddhist, I've learnt to desire nothing. That again is not true, because I desire world peace. But that is causing me a lot of suffering. You see, suffering is brought about by our own actions, by our desires. I'm not saying all suffering is brought about by desire, but a lot of suffering, personal suffering, is brought about by desire. You desire things and you get disappointed. Yeah, I don't know, whatever. Desire. My advice is to anybody watching this, desire nothing, period. And that brings me on to another word, which is attachment. Attachment creates a lot of suffering too. We get attached to possessions, and we get attached to people. Husbands and wives get attached. A husband does not own a wife, nor does a wife own a husband. Should a husband or a wife decide that the relationship is no longer for him or her, then that person should be free to go with the blessing of the other person. Because that's love, unconditional love. Have no attachment. I've lost lots of things in my life, and it used to upset me. I've lost a lot of things recently that previously would have upset me, but I've had to accept and have no attachment. Difficult to follow because I'm making a total mess of this again, but there we go. So what you see is what you get. 3 more words: like, want and need. There's a certain sense of urgency in one of those words, and it was the last word I spoke, need. You see, there's lots of things people like. There's lots of things people want. If people concentrated on what they needed and the needs of others, then I think this world would start to become a better place. If you only spent money on what you needed, you'd save a lot of money, believe me. When I was going through a particularly difficult financial period in my life, I only spent money on what I needed, and I recovered quite quickly. I didn't need alcohol. I didn't need tobacco. I didn't need fancy food. I didn't need restaurants, pubs, bars. I didn't need fancy clothes. I needed to live a life where I had some food, I had some warmth, some shelter, and of course water. Oh shit, I can talk about water till the cows come home. I'll do that later, maybe. Right, Like, want, and need. Yes, you can like things. Nothing wrong with that. You can want things, I suppose. But then that brings in desire. I'm just asking you to think maybe about what you need and what other people need. And if you sacrifice some of your likes and your wants and gave that money away to people in need, it's called sharing. Anyway. Right, we're getting close to the end now. The universe, I don't want to really talk about the universe, what my mentors. Oh yes. I do have to finish on a serious note, and that's because it says it on here. Are you aware that your eyes only see 5% of what's in front of you or around you? 95% of what exists around you, you cannot see. Doesn't that scare you somewhat? You can only hear, allegedly, 7% of the sounds that are available on this planet. Doesn't that cause you some concern? I'm more concerned about what it is I can't see. Because the powers that be have the technology, EMF, to do basically whatever they want. And now with the installation of things like 5G that was used to fend off a wild boar during the South Korean Winter Olympics. Yes, they used 5G, Wi-Fi, to scare off wild boar. Just imagine what the powers that be could do with 5G to us human beings, should they choose to. And believe me, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, when it comes to making choices like that, the powers that be have no hesitation whatsoever in doing what they want. So just be mindful. Don't put mobile phones next to your head because you're just microwaving your brain, for example. Right, I'm going to finish this now. And I'm going to finish it on a nice note, I think. No, I'm not, because I've not finished talking about bloody powers that be yet. I'm talking about, when it comes to the powers that be, and I've done a lot of research about this, because when I took on this challenge 4 years ago to bring about world peace, I had to research and decide who it was actually challenging, who are the people who are preventing world peace. And I've narrowed it down to 3 people. 3. Well, you can decide for yourself what they are. Whoever's in charge of the Vatican, that's 1. Whoever's in charge of the City of London, the Queen of England, God bless her, and all who are going to sink in you. That's number 2. And number 3 is Washington, D.C. Now, of course, Washington, D.C. is a corporate entity, not part of the United States, even though it's physically in the United States. But if you do your research, you'll find out it doesn't belong to the United States. It's purely autonomous, as is the Vatican, as is the City of London. The City of London, 1 square mile, the financial capital of the world, governed by Her Majesty the Queen of England. Now, I believe, so not necessarily the truth, it is the Queen of England, and I could possibly be beheaded as a traitor. But please understand, it's a belief and not a truth. I'm not saying it's a fact. It's just my firm belief that the Queen of England is actually the head of this trilogy of entities: the Vatican, City of London, Washington DC. Washington DC is a military might. City of London, the financial capital of the world. And the Vatican, of course, that controls religion. Got 40-foot high walls around it, apparently. I wonder why the Vatican. I was talking to a couple of Freemasons this afternoon. I don't want to go into that too much because I don't know that much about it. However, I know there's good and bad in most things, and it depends where you are in this pyramid. They're at the top or the bottom. But that's society throughout the world. It all depends where you are, whether you're at the bottom of the tree or at the top of the tree. Oh, whatever. Anyway, I'm going to finish. I apologise in advance because I know when I play this back, I'm going to be disappointed yet again. I'm just going to finish with a short, a short mantra. Just above my head here somewhere you'll see a little Buddhist effigy. That is not the true Buddha, by the way. It's an effigy. I'm going to finish by blessing you all with this mantra. Research it if you like. Find out the meaning. Very, very simple, very, very short. And it goes like this. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Okay, I said it 3 times. I said before at the start of this presentation, things happen in threes. I'm going to bid you all a peaceful day, a peaceful night, a peaceful afternoon, I'm just going to bid you all peace. Peace. And love. Unconditional love.